Salut, I'm Jennifer, your French teacher in the south of France, and today I have a French grammar lesson for you. It's a B1 level, so that means it's an intermediate level lesson. If you are still like an upper level beginner, you can still get a lot out of this lesson. It's going to be about how to use avant de and après avoir. So what is that? Avant de, that's when you want to say like before going somewhere, before going to the grocery store. We're going to use avant de. And après avoir is when you want to say something like after having gone. So before going to the store with avant de, and after having gone to the store with APRÈS AVOIR. Actually, that one would be APRès êTRE. So I'm going to tell you what all of that means. Now, before we get started, you might want to go ahead and print out your study guide that will accompany this lesson. You have all of the examples and rules on there and space to take notes and write your own examples. I think that's very, very important to do that so that you can get the most out of this lesson as possible. So if you want to do that, just look down in the video description. And if you really want to master this new grammar topic, you're going to have to practice. So you can sign up for my mini course and do just that. And the link to that is also down in the video description below. So we're going to start out with the easy part. And this is for you, especially, even if you're a beginner, you can do this because it requires no conjugation, no special tense or anything. When you want to say before doing something in French, all you have to do is use avant de. Okay? So the word avant means before. Now watch this. Avant de followed by an infinitive. So you have to know that the infinitive is the full form of a verb before it's been conjugated. So what we're doing is we're using this construction to say that one action is preceding another one. Nothing to conjugate. So let's look at the first one. Actually, let's look at my English example first. I lock the door before leaving for the day. I lock the door before leaving for the day. So I'm not saying I lock the door before I leave for the day. We don't have to do that in English, and you don't have to in French either. We just have to use avant de followed by an infinitive. So, je ferme la porte à clé. That means I lock the door. Je ferme la porte à clé avant de partir pour la journée. That avant de partir is the before leaving. All right? So just like we don't have to repeat the subject I twice in English, we don't have to repeat it twice, the je in French, which means we don't have to conjugate twice. Yay! Okay, my next example. Nous dînons avant d'aller au cinéma. Nous dînons avant d'aller au cinéma. Simple as that, okay? Il vaut mieux réfléchir avant de parler. Il vaut mieux réfléchir avant de parler. Super. On fait une liste avant de faire les courses. On fait une liste avant de faire les courses. So you see, that is the part that even if you're a beginner, you can use those. Now, the next little bit I'm going to show you, you do need to know something about pronouns, French pronouns. And this is not a lesson on pronouns, so I'm not really going to talk about how to use pronouns. I'm just going to show you where to put the pronoun if you're using the avant de followed by infinitive construction, all right? So if you haven't learned pronouns yet, just forget about this part and wait, we'll get to something else in just a minute. All right, so if you have pronouns, no matter what kind of pronouns, the first one, we have a reflexive pronoun. You are going to put the pronoun between de and the infinitive. Always, always, always. Okay, so in this first one, elle se démaquille avant de se mettre en pyjama. Elle se démaquille avant de se mettre en pyjama. See how that works? And it's really interesting to compare the English and French. right? Always. I think that's because you'll see, oh, that doesn't look like, that's not how I would have translated it. They're not always direct translations. You know that by now, right? Look at the next one. Je ne savais pas ce que j'allais faire avant de t'en parler. Je ne savais pas ce que j'allais faire avant de t'en parler. Now, in this one, we have two pronouns. That's okay. You just follow your order of pronouns chart. You put them in the right order, but you put all of your pronouns in between de and the infinitive. D'accord? Just one thing I'll point out real quickly. Anytime you want to say, I did not know, I didn't know, you say, je ne savais pas. All right? And that's something for you even if you're a beginner because you can memorize it. Je ne savais pas. I didn't know. Okay? The third example, j'aimerais goûter ces fraises avant d'en acheter 1 kilo. J'aimerais goûter ces fraises avant d'en acheter 1 kilo. So that means I would like to taste these strawberries before buying a kilo of them. The of them is your pronoun en, right? That's quantity that we're talking about. Last example. Tu ne veux pas essayer de l'appeler avant de lui envoyer un SMS? Tu ne veux pas essayer de l'appeler avant de lui envoyer un SMS? So we're using lui, which means her. That's an indirect object pronoun, d'accord? Because we send a text message to her. D'accord? All right, so that's it. That is it for avant de followed by an infinitive. That's the pretty easy part. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is not complicated either, but if you have not learned the passé composé, then this might be a little bit advanced for you. We're going to talk first about verbs that use avoir as helping verb in the passé composé. All right, so remember what we're doing this with this avoir, après avoir, is rather than saying before going to the grocery store, we're going to say something like after having gone to the grocery store. But we're still not going to have to conjugate. We're going to use this construction. Now listen to this. This is important. You got to wrap your head around it. To say that something will be done after something else has been done, but by the same person. That's very important. So the first example, just in English, we will leave. Okay, that's something we will do after something else has been done, after having finished dessert and coffee. It's the same people who are going to leave, right? That's we. We are going to leave, and we're also the ones who are going to finish the dessert and coffee. Okay, same thing in French. You don't have to repeat that subject, we or nous. Now here, in these examples, if you look at the first one, my past participle fini comes from the verb finir, right? Well, in the passé composé, finir uses avoir as a helping verb. Second example, lu is the past participle for lire, to read. And it also uses avoir as helping verb in the passé composé. And finally, dit, in the third example, is the past participle for dire, which also uses avoir as helping verb in the passé composé. All right? So now look, we're saying in the first one, nous partirons après avoir fini le dessert et le café. I'm using the whole infinitive avoir. And I know that probably looks strange, but the reason why we're using the whole infinitive, well, for one thing, this is just a grammatical construction, and this is the way it works, but we're not repeating nous. Okay, so we don't have to conjugate avoir. The second example, je suis allé me coucher après avoir lu quelques chapitres. Elle est rentrée après avoir dit, elle est rentrée après avoir dit au revoir à tout le monde. D'accord? So the most important thing that you have to know is that you're using avoir as helping verb, and you have to know the past participle. So for these, I have a few irregular verbs in there with irregular past participles. but it works the same with regular verbs. All right, now look at this. Now we're going to talk about using pronouns along with après avoir. All right, so the pronoun, when you have a pronoun in this construction, you need to make sure that you place them between après and avoir. D'accord? So in the first example, j'ai rangé les assiettes après les avoir nettoyées. J'ai rangé les assiettes après les avoir nettoyées. So you see the les, direct object pronoun, where I've put it in the sentence. Now, if you look back up at the top, I've made a little note so you won't forget. If you have a direct object pronoun that comes before avoir, you have to make the pronoun agree with the past participle. So since that pronoun les is replacing les assiettes, and they happen to be feminine and plural, I have to add an es to nettoyer. D'accord? Your next example. Il a envoyé la lettre après l'avoir relue. Il a envoyé la lettre après l'avoir relue. So here again, we have L apostrophe as a as a pronoun, and it's a direct object pronoun because it is replacing la lettre. What did he send? The letter. So that means it's a direct object pronoun. This direct object pronoun is coming before avoir. It's replacing a feminine and singular noun, which is la lettre. So we have to put an I on relu. And so relu, that comes from the verb lire. Again, lire means to read. So to proofread is relire. Just means to read it again, really. Okay? So it follows all the same rules as lire. And your last example, il est parti après m'avoir parlé. Il est parti après m'avoir parlé. Now here, he left after having spoken to me. So that's the me. You know, though, even if the me, is feminine, like let's say it's talking about me, Jennifer, he's talking to me. That means me, is an indirect object pronoun. And that's important because that means you don't have to make agreement on the past participle, right? Like you did in the first two examples. Look again at the top one. We added an es to nettoyer because les is direct object pronoun. We added an I to relu because la is a direct object pronoun. But we're not adding an I to parler even if me is feminine because it's not a direct object pronoun, it's an indirect object pronoun. And that's tricky because me looks the same whether it's a reflexive pronoun, a direct object pronoun, or an indirect object pronoun. I know, it's hard. Okay, don't sweat the small stuff. And that is kind of a small thing. Now look, we've talked about using avoir with this construction. Now how about êtres? D'accord? So you can also say après êtres followed by a past participle. It's the same thing. Something will be done after something else has been done by the same person. You're going to use the whole infinitive être, but you've got it. You're going to use être instead of avoir with verbs that use être as helping verb in the passé composé. D'accord? So for this first one, elle m'appellera après être rentrée. Elle m'appellera après être rentrée. So you really have to think about what's going on in this sentence. Lots of grammar. She will call me after having returned home. So you know this verb rentrer uses être as a helping verb in the passé composé. All right, that's cool. We have to remember that when être is our helping verb, we need to make agreement with the subject, which is elle, okay, and the past participle, which is rentrer. That's why rentrer has an I on it. D'accord? It's quite different than what we saw with avoir. Remember, nettoyer has an es on it because of les. Has nothing to do with the subject being je because avoir is my helping verb. But here, with être, we have to make agreement with the subject. D'accord? Look at this next example. And you can put the après être rentré or après être allé, you can put them at the beginning or end of the sentence, anywhere you want. There's no rule about that, okay? So, après être allé à la plage, il avait un vilain coup de soleil. Après être allé à la plage, il avait un vilain coup de soleil. Un vilain, I liked that word, un vilain coup de soleil. I didn't know if you knew it. It means he had a really bad sunburn. All right, so since we're talking about he, it says il, we don't have to add an extra i to aller. D'accord? Après être arrivés, nous avons commencé à vider nos valises. Après être arrivés, with an S, nous avons commencé à vider nos valises. You see how that works? So now, if you are still hanging on with me, you know, I have just a few more things to show you. This is not a very long lesson today. I'm going to show you how to use après être with pronouns. All right? So just watch this. Remember, when we're using reflexive verbs, we still have to use êtres as a helping verb. And you have to make agreement when necessary. So for the examples with the pronouns, I am going to use reflexive verbs. D'accord? All right, so the first one, I'm going to use the verb se doucher. Se doucher means to take a shower. Elle s'est séché les cheveux après s'être douchée. Elle s'est séché les cheveux après s'être douchée. All right, so that means she dried her hair after having showered. And some people get confused at this point because I'm still translating in English after having showered, after having done something. And the verb êtres doesn't mean to have. See, it's easier to understand when we say after having using the verb avoir. But we're still going to translate it that way in English, even though we're using êtres. Now look at this. You might be saying, oops, Jennifer forgot an E on séché. No, I didn't, but I want to remind you why there's not an E there, even though elle is my subject, and this is être as a helping verb. When you have, for example, les cheveux, or any other body part following a reflexive verb in the passé composé, you do not make agreement on that past participle. All right, so maybe that's a reminder for you. Maybe it's new, but that's a deal. That's a deal in French, right? That's the way it is. The next one, se faire à manger. Se faire à manger means to make oneself something to eat. You know, I'm going to make myself a sandwich. You would use the verb se faire à manger. Se faire un sandwich, if you prefer. So look at the example. Après m'être fait à manger, je me suis mise à table. Après m'être fait à manger, je me suis mise à table. So after having made myself something to eat, I sat down at the table. So the je me suis mise à table is also in the passé composé. It's a reflexive verb, but that's where my subject is, so everything has to be conjugated, right? That's the difference. When you have a subject before the verb, you have to conjugate everything. With the après m'être fait, there's no subject, d'accord? Se regarder. Se regarder means to look at oneself. Tu t'es changé de chemise après t'être regardé dans la glace. Now, what do you know about the subject tu? Do you know if that's feminine or masculine? If you look closely, you can see that tu is feminine because tu t'es changé. Changé has an extra e on it. And après t'être regardé, regardé also has an extra e on it. Right? Remember, you have to make that agreement. D'accord? So I'm just going to show you some more examples. Let's get back to avant de for a moment. So the verb manger, avant de manger. S'habiller, avant de s'habiller. Partir, avant de partir. Écrire, avant d'écrire. L'avoir. You might say, what's that la doing there? That's just a pronoun, all right? And it means her in my example. l'avoir, avant de l'avoir. It's to remind you that if you have a pronoun, it goes in between de and the infinitive. Here's another one with the pronoun lui parler, avant de lui parler. D'accord? Let's look at some more examples with après avoir. Now remember, you can see everything on the right, what it means in English. Après avoir means after having done something. In English, we say after having had, been, done, taken, put, chosen. These are all past participles. We'll do the exact same thing in French. Après avoir eu, après avoir été, après avoir fait, après avoir pris, après avoir mis, après avoir choisi. D'accord? Let's have a look at après êtres. Remember, it still means after having gone, become, gone out, come, arrived, entered, past participles. Après être allé, après être devenu, après être sorti, après être venu, après être arrivé, après être entré. So you notice there all of those E's and S's in parentheses. It's because when êtres is my helping verb, I have to remember to make agreement when necessary, according to number and gender. One more thing to show you, and this is using après être with reflexive verbs, right? So you can see what all of these mean on the right in English. Even though être is my helping verb, it still translates after having. Après s'être calmé, après s'être garé, après s'être promené, après s'être rasé, après s'être trompé. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and just look at a few things with you, and I'm going to ask you to write some of your own examples on your study guide, all right? So let's look back at avant de. Avant de, right there. Okay, so what I want you to do now is choose one of these, and I want you to write a sentence, your own example, okay? Remember, you're talking about the one person doing two things, okay? So go on and write that down, and if you're pleased with your example, you can write it in the comments. I'd love to see it. Now, how about this? Write an example using après avoir with a past participle. I wonder which one you'll choose, a regular or irregular verb. How about après être? Remember, you don't always have to use je. You can use a different subject in your example, and you might need to make agreement on your past participle. And finally, let's look at these. I want to walk you through this one a little bit as you write your example using êtres with reflexive verbs. In all of my examples here, I've used S apostrophe êtres. That's because I'm showing you these in the infinitive form. But you're going to change your subject, right? The se is just for il, elle, on, or il, elle, plural. But if you're going to use je as a subject, you need to put M apostrophe, or tu as your subject, T apostrophe. Nous as your subject, you're going to put nous as your pronoun. Vous as a subject, you're going to use vous as a reflexive pronoun, okay? So that's how that works. All right, I hope that you have understood this. Again, you're going to need to practice and practice and practice. So if you aren't sure how to do that, go on and have a look in the description below and see how you can sign up for my mini course. Je vous remercie et je vous dis à très bientôt. Au revoir.